Happy Sunday. Welcome to Virginia Bakes. I'm Virginia. Thanks for joining me today, or if you're watching this later, thanks for checking out. Our recipe today is Jalapeño Cheddar Cornbread. This is a Barefoot Contessa recipe, and I'm looking forward to it because, you guys, it's fall in Florida. Oh my gosh. Yesterday, it got down to like 71 degrees. Yesterday evening, I went for a walk. It was breezy. It felt like Christmas time and all the good things, Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, so nice. So I'm trying so hard, and I think it's already back to, what is it? Well, it's 71 degrees out there right now. I'm gonna have to go for another walk. This is kind of some of the best we can hope for. In this area of Florida, it just does not get very cool. So with that, I thought it's our first cool weekend of the season. Perfect time for chili, you know, to warm up on these cold Florida nights. So what goes great with chili? Cornbread. Cornbread does. And I wanted something a little different than the usual cornbread that you would use for maybe the base of a cornbread stuffing, or, you know, go with like greens and beans and things like that. A nice southern cornbread. I wanted something a little different. So we're going to try this jalapeno cheddar cornbread by the Barefoot Contessa. So she bakes it. We'll talk about pans first real quick. She bakes it in a 9x13 pan, which you can do like a brownie pan or cake pan, something like that. Absolutely, you can do that if that's what you have. If you have one of these cute corn stick cast iron pans, I've got a couple of them that I have found at flea markets and garage sales and stuff, and cleaned them up and made sure they were good and seasoned. And I thought, you know, if I could do it in one of these, surely I can do it in one of these, because I've been wanting an excuse to use my lovely Nordic ware. So cute. Normally I do like a pumpkin donut in this, and I have this other one as well. It's a little bit smaller. I mean, come on. Any excuse to use these, right? So I'm going to bake mine in this. So let's get started with that. First thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get our pan ready. If you're using the cake pan, it's the same thing. The same step right here. We're just gonna take some melted butter and brush it into all the nooks and crannies. And then once this is done, then we can set it aside. When I was a kid, the thing I hated the most was like prepping the pan. I didn't understand the importance. I was too impatient. I just wanted to get the brownie batter made or the cake batter made and get it in the oven. And just thought this was a superfluous step that just wasn't necessary. And whatever, it'll come out of the pan. And sometimes it did, and many times it did not. And as a mature adult, I now make sure that I prep my pan properly. That's what we're gonna do. By the way, the oven, we can preheat it. Actually, we can wait a little bit because this batter does need to rest for 30 minutes, so it gets nice, and although the moisture gets really incorporated throughout. So with that in mind, we could preheat the oven now, or we could preheat it at the beginning of that 30 minutes. That should be plenty. Okay, I'm just gonna set this aside right here. And what is our next step? Oh, good morning, Amy. How are you? Are you still with the family? Okay, our next step is going to be the dry ingredients. So I've got my scale, got my big bowl. Turn that on. We need, I just filled this container up, and I'm probably gonna get flour everywhere. Scoot that over. We need 360 grams of all-purpose flour. I had a moment of panic yesterday after I'd gone to the store twice, and I came home to kind of pull everything together and make a batch of these. that I had 360. Oh, that I did not, in fact, have any more flour. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go to the store for the third time. I found it in the back of the pantry. Thank goodness. Okay, so 336 grams of flour, that's 3 cups of flour, and then 1 cup of cornmeal, which is 100, according to the package, the back of the package, I did the math. 3 tablespoons is 27 grams, that makes a cup, 144 grams. I did notice on the reviews for this recipe on her website, a lot of people felt it wasn't corn flavored enough, and they did a 1-to-1 ratio on the flour and the cornmeal. I'm sticking with it as written for now, but apparently that shouldn't be a problem if you want to switch it out and add do less flour and more cornmeal. Because it does come out a little more cakey than, what did I say, 144? Oh my Lord. There we go. It does come out a little more cakey than like a typical cornbread that has that gritty, I hate to use the word grit, but like a gritty texture. And I know people get really weird about, I mean, I'm from the South, we grew up eating grits. But I know people are weird about the idea of eating a grit. Like, it's not the most attractive word to describe a food. And then we need, this is controversial, we need 50 grams of sugar. This is the other reason I didn't want to do a traditional cornbread, is because I know how people feel about sugar or no sugar in the cornbread. And I guess it's Southern style, there's no sugar. Northern style, there is sugar. And people are very particular and adamant about which one is the correct one. And I honestly, I kind of like it a little more sweet. So, all right, 50 grams, that's a 1/4 cup of sugar. Then let's see, baking powder, 2 tablespoons. And salt, which I finally put in a cute container. We need 2 teaspoons of this. And I'm going to stir this together so that everything is distributed. This is another case of once you add the wet ingredients, you want to stir as little as possible. So we're going to do all this stirring and mixing ahead of time before we combine our wet and dry. And in fact, what I'm going to do is kind of go, I'm going to deviate from the Barefoot Contessa's instructions. Please don't be mad. I'm going to add the cheese and green onions and jalapeños to this dry before adding it, like the normal directions which would have you add it after the wet ingredients. And it's just some extra stirring once the wet ingredients in there that I'd prefer not to do. So let's see here. First we're going to do green onions, which these felt to me to be kind of skinny. So I'm doing more than 3. I did Google how much scallions should weigh, and for what is she calling for here? I have it on a piece of paper. Oh, a 1/3 cup of chopped scallions that in theory should be 21 grams. Well, since this is an inclusion and doesn't really affect the chemical situation going on in the cornbread, I'm not going to worry that much about it. I'm just going to add as much as looks good to me. And then also with green onions, I prefer, like, I don't want these ends down here. I don't know if that's a personal thing, or are you supposed to not go all the way to the end. I kind of go about halfway. So it feels like it gets papery down there. It's not a texture I care for. So I'm not going to put it in there. But you like it, throw it in there. These do smell good. Yeah, it's 1/3 of a cup, and I'm just going to eyeball it. That's why I'm doing some extra green onions here, is because I don't go too far down the ends. Oops. Oh, who else? Oh my gosh, hello. Kendra, hello. No self-respecting Southerner uses instant grits, that's right. I'm halfway home, about 30 miles. Okay, well, drive safe. Ina's great. Back to driving, but I'm here. Love you guys. Love you, Amy. Amy is my oldest sister, the eldest of the siblings. And Kendra, he's a cousin. And quite a delightful person, and I get to see her next weekend. I'll mention there's not going to be a stream next weekend. Our wonderful grandmother, 105 years old, went home to be with the Lord, which it was very peaceful. It, obviously at 105, it wasn't a surprise. It was kind of fast, but not too fast. Like, she had been in such great health for so long, and was just an amazing lady. And with it, till the end, she lived on her own until 97 years old. And then fell and broke her hip and had to go into a home. Okay, I'm going to say this is about 1/3 of a cup. And she always attributed her mental acuity for all those years to word search puzzles. And I always remember, like, Christmas, birthday, visiting grandma, I would get her, and we all would get her. She called you an elder, Amy. I know, Kendra. I don't know what I was supposed to say. She is the elder. Get her the word search puzzles, large print, because that was the thing. Like, her eyesight was definitely not the best in those final years, and her hearing was kind of going. But we'd go visit and sit with her, and if you just got her talking, like, we'd say, "Grandma, tell us about that time," because she was born in 1920. Tell us about that time you got run over by a Model T Ford. And she would tell that story. Grandma, and because you had to talk really loud at her, Grandma, tell us about, some story we remember, like she's told a bunch of times, but it's so cute and quaint, and just a delight to hear her tell these stories of her youth, growing up on a homestead in kind of the middle of nowhere, northish Florida. And she was one of 11 siblings, not the youngest, but she was the last to pass on, and we'll miss her tremendously. Her service is next weekend, so I'm not going to be streaming next weekend. And I will get to see. She was tough as nails and spunky, super spunky. And just a wonderful, wonderful grandma. And we will miss her. And I'm very happy that, that we had her for so many years, and it was a peaceful transition. That's a good way to put it. And she was surrounded by plenty of family this week. I got to see her. And so did Grandma eat cornbread? She was the kind of person who, the other thing she would do is she had a routine. She said she figured out a long time ago what her body needed to function well, and she just did that every day. And so what her body needed was a certain amount of sleep. She got up the same time every day. She had breakfast every day. She did not snack between meals. She had lunch at the same time every day. She took a nap from 1 to 3. You knew not to stop by or call grandma between 1 and 3 because that was nap time. And then her dinner, and she'd walk every day. And that's how she broke her hip, is she went for a walk, one of her daily walks at the age of 97, and went to kick a rock out of her way because you can't be in her way. She's got walking to do. She went to kick a rock out of the way, lost her balance, fell and broke her hip. So, but she walked every day. She was active in her church and was in the choir. She did her word search puzzles. I think she watched JAG and things like that, and went to bed early. And yeah, and so she had her routines. They worked for her for years and years and years. And she lived a great, long, healthy life. She had many, many healthy years. And we will miss her. I'll just say that. Okay, now for the tricky part, which is the jalapeños. So I'm not a fan of cutting jalapeños. I get so nervous. I'm gonna wear gloves. That's like the safest way to do it, and to not get your, not get the heat on your fingers. Because one time, the first time I ever, it was years and years ago, but the first time I ever cut a jalapeno and got it, I did not know. I was making, I don't know, pico de gallo or something like that, and did not realize, and it took a while for the burning to start on my fingers, and by then I had already like rubbed my lip because it had itched or something like that, because I remember the lip burning really bad, and I had like scratched my lower eyelid, rubbed my, and so whew, that put the fear in me. And since then I use gloves, or there's another little trick with a spoon. As long the heat is in the seeds and the membrane, so as long as you kind of avoid touching that with your fingers, you should be okay. One way you can do that, other than gloves, is to scoop out the seeds and membrane. Instead of touching with your fingers, scoop them out with a spoon and get them out of the way. Right? And okay, so here's another little thing. This is where you're going to determine how much heat you want in your cornbread. I am, if you hadn't noticed, a white lady. I'm not a huge fan of heat. I'm a white lady of a mature age, and I get acid reflux. And so I try to avoid heat just because it's ultimately pretty unpleasant. And so I'm gonna try to not put too many seeds and membrane in here. And then I'm gonna use my little chopper to do this instead of sitting here taking forever mincing 3 peppers. Oops. What else can I say about jalapenos? I don't know. You ever do that like stuffed jalapeno thing and you wrap them you fill them with, what's it, cream cheese? Or some other kind of cheese, and wrap them with bacon, and grilling them is nice, but you can bake them. I don't know if that's considered baking. No, it's not, it's a food. Okay. Last time I visited my youngest sister up in the mountains, she had been growing lots of stuff in her garden. And turn aside. Jalapenos amongst them, and so we made those stuffed jalapenos. We made stuffed jalapenos from the ones she grew in her garden. It was extra special. I'm such a wuss when it comes to the heat. I bet that bare hands like this. Huh? I do that. Oh, you do, Krishna. Yeah, that's okay. Good for you. I can't handle it, Krishna. I'm too weak. Too much of a weakling. And these are kind of wet, but so it said 2 to 3 peppers. I did 3. Tried to avoid heat if possible. Okay, I think that's good. I think we are safe to remove the old gloves. Okay. And so I'm just going to stir this through instead of doing this after the wet ingredients are added, just to avoid as much stirring as humanly possible. I love jalapenos. You need to build your tolerance. I know. I mean, the jalapeno is fine. That's not the problem. It's the heat. I just have to know that that I've just got to have Tums on standby. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Everything seems to be incorporated really well. Okay, so now for the wet ingredients. Some melted butter. That's 2 sticks of that. And just kind of make a space. Get my little, here's my butter wrapper and my cup for my egg cracking routine. So we need 3 eggs. The butter is melted and cooled back down to kind of a room temperature. The milk is also room temperature. If you were to add cold eggs and cold milk together and then put the melted butter into that, the butter is going to start seizing up and like you're going to have solid chunks of butter in there. Is it the end of the world? No, but if we can avoid it, let's avoid it. So, and these are at room temperature to avoid the butter going solid once it touches cold milk and eggs. We do want to, we're going to whisk this together. Again, it's to ensure that everything is as mixed as possible before adding the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients, so that we do a minimal amount of stirring at that point. Hold on. Krishna, what is your method for like stopping, if you're doing that barehanded, what is the method for like stopping that heat? I remember when that happened to me, I went with oil, I think butter or oil, and spread that on and tried to keep it coated until it cooled down. Okay, sorry, 2 sticks of butter, 3 eggs, and then this is, where's the 2 cups of milk, which is 454. I already measured it out when I set it out to come to room temperature. For a second there, I thought it wasn't going to fit. Doesn't give me much room to whisk. That's okay. And break these egg yolks. Grandma had lists of what each family liked to eat, and she'd cook it when they visited. Cornbread was on your list? That's so amazing. Do I have her cornbread recipe? Do you have her cornbread recipe? Why are you putting an egg in one bowl just to pour it into another? I do that, Kendra. It's not necessary. I do it to be able to easily catch eggshells. So if I get an eggshell in there, it's easy to see and then remove before adding it to the big bowl. Uh-oh, there goes my microphone, came unclipped. Before adding it to the big bowl. So that's why I do it. Okay, I think that's good. Not seeing any big chunks of egg yolk. All right, almost there. Okay, we're going to add this to this and stir only as much as needed. To get all of the flour moistened. There's that word again. Such a good idea. Thanks. Soap and water, maybe yogurt or dairy. Oh, so okay. I'll try that next time. I mean, I happen to currently have a box of those gloves, so maybe when they run out, I will make an attempt at going barehanded. So scary. Okay, I'm just gonna be stirring this enough to get everything incorporated. Then in theory, your next step, if you're following along at home right now or at some other time, your next step would be to let this sit for 30 minutes so that all the liquid can be absorbed by all of the flour. I don't know if you can see. Can I do this? So I still got some flour bits that are coming across. But letting it sit for 30 minutes makes sure that all of the flour has absorbed all of the liquid. What I'm going to do to kind of move along is, I don't see why that process can't be happening in the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and, do I see any more flour chunks? No, okay. I'm going to go ahead and scoop this into my prepared. Now this will not hold all of it. So I would have to do this in multiple batches. Or again, you can use a 9x13 and just do it all at once. But these are so cute, and it's fall, y'all. So I wanted to use my pan while I could. These little scooper things are so convenient. It just gets it where you need it to be so quick and easy, no mess. And some of these, I feel like I wish they had, well, maybe they have, maybe I need to, no, surely these, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I wish every well in here was the same size, so the different shapes do not require the same amount of filling. So like the acorns definitely need less than the leaves. And the pine cones need probably somewhere in between. So I wish they were more consistent, like I wish every well needed the same amount of batter, just so then I could do, each gets 2 scoops, or each gets, I have bigger scoops, so each gets 1 of the big scoops, and then you know they're all equal. I don't know, did that come from, they were very adamant on the Great British Baking Show that things be the same size and whatever. So maybe that's where that attitude of mine comes from, I don't know. I mean, there's also the concern that it won't, if it's not going to bake evenly, right? If some of these wells have 50% more filling than the others. Anyway, so I'm just smoothing this out, trying to get it into all the nooks and crannies. You'd be doing basically the same thing in a cake pan, just getting it to all the corners. I don't know how much something like this would, once it's warming up in the oven, would kind of liquefy and fill in the gaps on its own. I don't think it really would, honestly. So we're going to do it for it. Okay. All right, so in theory, and what I am going to do, because I'm not baking these just yet, is you would let that sit for 30 minutes, or you can let it sit in the bowl for 30 minutes to do its thing, and then you could scoop it into the pan. Well, and get it baking. So now would be a good time to start preheating the oven for that 30 minutes. But what I have now to show you is the completed cornbreads. I was really happy with how they came out of the pans. So this was from one of the smaller pans. Let me get that. There we go. It's an acorn. There's a turkey. Come on. Just any excuse to use these. What's another one? Here's a big leaf. Okay, so you can serve these warm. This is something you don't have to wait until it cools down. Like with bread, you wouldn't want to wait for it to cool before you slice into it, otherwise it'll kind of go gummy. These you don't have to worry about. It's a quick bread. And to warm them up, I would probably wrap some in foil and put it in the oven at like low, like 325 for a little bit until they've warmed up, or maybe in an air fryer for a couple minutes. Could you put them in the microwave? Yeah, but they might turn rubbery. So that's just a chance I am not willing to take. So these are the ones I made yesterday. I think they're so cute. And I'm going to try one now. And then I have, and you won't have to stick around for this, but I got all the stuff to make a pot of chili today. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have chili and cornbread for a couple of meals, and that's going to be amazing. They'll also freeze really well as well. I would put them on a baking sheet, and so that they're not touching, spread them out so they're not touching, and put them in the freezer until they're good and frozen. Then you can pop them into a bag and pull out as many as you need when you need them, and reheat them that way. I'd bring them to room temperature, let them sit out to room temperature, and then I'd wrap them in foil and put them in the oven for a little bit to warm them up. But here we go. I tried one yesterday. I ate a turkey, so let me eat an acorn. Ready? This is what the top looks like, which I think is also really pretty. And by top, I mean the bit facing up. Oh, come on, please, please. I have to do this thing. There we go. So the top has the pretty little cracks, and you can see the green onions and the jalapeños and even the cheddar. Oh, I did want to mention that about the cheddar. So I grated cheddar from a block. You can use, if you want, the pre-shredded cheddar. Those are usually coated with something to keep them from clumping up in the bag. So it just makes me nervous, like, will that affect the bake at all? These, because I was running low on time, I did use pre-shredded, and it did not seem to have any sort of negative effect. But, you know, it's nice to, either way, honestly. I don't think it's that big a deal. You can see all our cheese in there. Okay, here we go. I mean, I already know what these taste like because I couldn't resist. I had to have one yesterday. Even the next day. Perfect amount of like saltiness and butteriness. You definitely not taste the heat in mine because I'm a wuss. But please, you know, add as much heat as you want. I think also maybe next time I might experiment and have more corn. I can definitely taste the cornmeal, and it has that corn flavor. So I have thick skin. Banging on the counter. Oh, to get it into all of the cracks. That is a good idea. But what was I saying? Oh, next time I think I will do half cornmeal, half flour, just to give it a little extra cornmeal cook. I think you could even add, because I have some other cornbread recipes that I've done that adds actual whole kernel corn in. So you have chunks of corn in there would be nice. And then maybe even, there was one, the recipe I would have loved to have done, I've lost it. I don't know, I can't remember where I got it from. I don't have it printed out. I can't seem to find it. It's very similar to this, but it does also have like cayenne and cumin in the dry ingredients for some extra spice and flavor and stuff, and that was really good. So I might experiment with that next time. But this is a good cornbread for, of course, chili. The shapes probably give it more crispy edges. They do, and that's what the butter in the pan will help with, is crisping up those edges. Bring it on the counter to spread the batter. Yes. I can't wait to. I like to break it into pieces and like croutons and stick it in my chili, and have some chili with some cornbread. Good stuff. Okay. And they're not bad, room temperature, not warmed up. They're still pretty dang good. So, okay, there we go, guys. Why I had to eat one more bite. Now I've got to chew that up. Yeah, I was really pleased with how well the shapes came out, because I figured if this is like a tradition, sorry, that was loud. This is a traditional method or a traditional option, these corn stick pans, and you see how tiny the details are in there, that if it comes across in one of these, surely it would come across with this Nordic ware pan. So, okay, there we go. Jalapeno cheddar cornbread, perfect with chili. Looking forward to that today, big time. If you have enjoyed this content, please like the video. It really helps me out. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any of our future baking adventures. And even comments on the video are super helpful for the channel and tells YouTube that people are engaging and enjoying this content. So if you have nothing else to say, well, first of all, are you team sugar or team no sugar in your cornbread? That would be interesting to see in the comments. And then if nothing else, just comment hashtag weigh your ingredients, because I want to start a movement of ingredient weighing, right? Ta-da. Okay, so there's our beautiful jalapeno cheddar cornbread. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you give it a try. If you do, let me know how it came out. And if you made any changes to the inclusions or the amount of corn or the sugar. And yeah, so we will not see you next week, but after that, I think I'm gonna try switching to Saturdays and see how that goes. Because Sunday mornings for me are turning out to be a little bit difficult. So I'm gonna try next time. We're gonna move to Saturdays, like Saturdays afternoon at 2 or 3. I'll let you know. But yeah, there you go. Enjoy. Thanks for joining me today in my kitchen, and I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and happy baking, everybody. Thanks.